Good morning, I'm Mark Weaver, and welcome to Designers at Home. It looks like we have a wonderful crowd joining us this morning, and my guest this morning is Puck Erickson, who will be talking to us, I believe, from her home in the Adirondacks. So let me give you a little bit of background on Puck. She is a principal and co-founder of Arcadia Studios in Santa Barbara. The company was founded in 2001, and she shares a strong belief with her partners in collaborative, site-specific design work on their residential projects, as well as their community and commercial projects. Her works have included the creation of the Santa Ynez Botanic Gardens, updating the campus for the University of California in Santa Barbara, and numerous impressive residential projects. She serves on several boards, including the Santa Barbara County Board of Architecture Review and the Garden Club of Santa Barbara, to name a couple. And hopefully, Puck is going to be joining us in a moment. Let's see. I'm in Santa Barbara today, and I have my garden in the background. I thought it would be appropriate in talking with Puck to have something green and nature in the background. And here she is. Hold on one moment. Here, okay. Okay, we should be connecting now. Here it goes. Good morning, Puck.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, I'm great. It's afternoon in Adirondack.
Oh, it's afternoon. Yes. You're in upstate New York.
I am.
So I was just reading your bio and saying that you're at your vacation home, your second home.
Yeah.
You live primarily in Santa Ynez, and you're recording this from your home in the Adirondacks.
I am.
It's got to be beautiful there right now. This is the perfect time of year.
Absolutely. Well, would you like me to show you a little picture of what I'm looking at while we're talking?
That's great. Can you?
Let's see.
All right.
There we go. There's the porch and the lake, and some kayakers went by, and the mountain that you see in the background is called Owls.
Oh, it's spectacular.
It's a pretty wonderful place. Everyone should visit.
Well, it's quite a bit different than your place in Santa Ynez.
It is.
And so is the landscape.
Yes, absolutely. But I grew up with it, so.
So, Puck, you said you grew up in Pennsylvania.
I did, and I spent my summers in New Hampshire.
So how did you get from Pennsylvania and settle in Santa Barbara County?
Well, I was graduating from art school and was a wild-eyed hippie and got in my San Francisco.
Are you kidding?
Was.
Okay. Well, I hate to say it, but I remember that era myself. So we all survived the hippie days, huh?
Yes, and I'm still a bit of a rebel in terms of my practice.
So give us a little bit of background on how you got into horticulture and landscape design.
Well, I grew up in these eastern woods and was very fortunate to have people around me who love botany and horticulture in a garden. I didn't realize that not everything did this kind of thing, and so it was just always part of my life. As I moved to California, the first thing I did was I wanted to know about the
There's, I think you cut out on that last one. Can you just repeat it?
When I moved to California, I discovered a whole new world of plants and continue to explore horticulture really where I go in the world.
So you mentioned to me that your passion is creating living things, breathing habitats, and you mentioned that Santa Barbara is an epicenter for horticulture and has been since the late 1700s. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was actually surprised when I moved to Santa Barbara to um, discover that the missionaries, the fathers, were bringing plants from Spain and South America in the 1700s. And then, of course, in the era of the Great Estates, everyone like Robert Ludington, they all went to Spain and Andalusia and discovered all the plants of the Mediterranean and South Africa. So Santa Barbara has just an incredible history of horticultural exploration.
And what are some of the plants that they introduced here?
Oh my gosh, I think right now everyone has sort of rediscovered succulents, and so many of the aloes and agaves were brought in. Of course, the missionaries really had their wonderful edible medicinal gardens, as well as the Chumash Indians, who were incredible plant people and have an encyclopedia of healing native plants, including willow, which you get aspirin from.
Huh. So I didn't realize that succulents weren't native to California.
Well, some are, a few,
Uh-huh.
but not all. So
Not
many
the
of the,
variety.
right, right. And and then some, just, they're just a myriad of plants
Right.
all over.
So we live, Santa Barbara County in Southern California is primarily a desert. So, and humans came in, they populated it, and of course they landscaped it with whatever their fantasy was, whether it was a tropical or desert landscape. And we today are much more conscious of creating things that are more native, perhaps drought tolerant, and being more considerate of nature and our resources. And I know that's something that you're very strong on.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm sitting here looking at beautiful white birch trees growing in their native habitat along the, when I first moved to California, I was just shocked at seeing the birch trees everywhere. It would be like planting cactus out here in Adirondack.
Right.
And I was very attuned to the fact that I was in a desert when I moved to Southern California. So in our practice at Arcadia Studio, we really try and combine our love of natives with drought tolerant, heat tolerant Mediterranean plants. And that's the joy of gardening landscape.
Right. And also, today you're required, I think when you submit your plans to the county, aren't you required to have reports that discuss the water usage and what is required for your project?
Oh, absolutely. And now they even require when you finish a project in Santa Barbara County, you have to perform an audit of the system that you put in to demonstrate that it actually meets the standards that you put on paper. So it's quite strict, and actually there's so many ways to design that allow you to meet those requirements.
Uh-huh.
It, it's not onerous.
Right. Well, I know it's a tremendous amount of work, the technical work. A lot of people don't realize the amount of work going into landscaping. It's not a matter of just going outside and putting some pretty plants in the ground. So,
Well, Good luck. A lot of our work involves larger projects and grading and drainage and really manipulating, creating landforms, and microclimate is a large part of our.
So are you able to discuss a couple of your current projects? Tell us what type of work you're doing.
Sure. Most of my work now, although I always like to keep a couple projects going in Los Angeles and Northern California, so I have reasons to go that direction. But most of my work now is on larger ranches and vineyard properties in the Santa Ynez. And one that I just finished, and I think this segues into something we both love, is clients who have an incredible art and wanted to do things outdoors. You know, that we both share a passion about.
Yes, right. So your travels have taken you abroad, and I know that you love studying landscapes when you travel. So where have you traveled? What countries do you, I would think the Mediterranean countries are probably a great influence because the climates are similar to California.
Yes, I mean, although I adore England and their horticultural things, the Mediterranean, such a great place to visit in terms of historical styles and how their sensibilities in terms of art really evolved from the sensitivity to climate, and whether it's gathering water, pools and runnels, to the types of plants they use. So it's a great place to study.
So when you're traveling like that, do you take photographs and make notes of different plants, or is that just all in your memory bank?
Oh my gosh, it's I one day, maybe when I'm 95, I'll sort through my photographs and get in order. But uh, I've been taking photographs of plants and have quite a little store on.
It's wonderful. I do the same thing. I take photographs of gardens, architectural details, furniture, garden ornaments, whatever it is, and I always reference these, over a period of time. It's great. And
Yeah,
it's also incredibly inspiring, isn't it?
it is. It's there. I think also not only the plants but the craftsmanship in hardscape, whether it's iron or stone or ceramics. All these things play into the language of gardens, which is so much fun.
Yeah. So you and I worked together on a project in Santa Ynez, and I was very fortunate that you were the one that introduced me to the client, who I immediately fell in love with. And it was a project that we worked on for almost 5 years,
That's right.
4.5 years. And I hadn't been there in the last year and a half or so. And you and I were both there because it was photographed and it's going to be published shortly in California Homes Magazine. And they're going to feature the house and, of course, the gardens, which are, for me, is just the biggest part of this property. So I'd love to talk with you about how we collaborated on this project because it was so much fun.
Oh, it was terrific working with you. But I think the reason that when they asked me about architects and designers, I said, well, you know this guy who loves gardens as much as I do, and it was the type of project where the gardens really needed to be integrated into the design of the home and were sort of a passageway from home to their vineyards and their olive groves. And creating that flow, I knew that we could work together on that sort of thing. And I think the way we were able to talk about where windows and doors were placed, the views from different rooms, and the kinds of gardens that expressed the use of the room inside, I think was really important in the design evolved as worked on it, because it was a lot I love.
Yeah, and the thing that was so much fun for me was working on spaces. We created all these incredible spaces um, around the house for dining, for lounging, around the pool, for swimming, a bocce court, and the rose garden is just, it's unbelievable, Puck. And it'd be great to show a photo, but it'll be in the magazine shortly. But the rose garden's just spectacular, and the roses that you pick, the colors, there's a very intimate fountain in the center of it. And, there was a water tower on the property, and it was kind of unsightly. It wasn't architecturally, I don't know, it was kind of an eyesore, bottom line. And you planted it, you brought in Italian stone pines adjacent to it to keep it from overwhelming the property. And there's a vine now growing on the outside of this. And we turned it into an observation deck. So you can go up there and have cocktails and look out over all of the vineyards, the olive orchards, and the hillsides and the Santa Ynez Mountains. It's really spectacular.
Well, I think one of the things that is so much fun about outdoor space is really creating places that vary from season to season as the sun moves. So they're places on the ranch or home that are wonderful summer, other places when it's chilly in the winter, go outside, coffee, this wonderful sort of sunlit little room tucked in, heating itself in the morning. I love the idea that people can have different experiences in a garden.
Yeah, and every room that you look out of the windows or the doors, there's something spectacular out of every room, and every view is different. One is the olive orchards, one's the vineyards, one's the mountains, and you go out into the dining area outside of the family room, and it just envelops you in this little courtyard garden of plants and very exotic succulents and things. It's every space is really magic that you created.
And it's out of the wind.
And it's out of the wind, exactly. Yeah, the winds in Santa Ynez and the sun can be a little bit challenging sometimes. But, one of my favorite parts of the property, we built a wine cellar. And when you go out the doors of the wine cellar, you come out into a terrace. And that's an area that we started as a very simple little area, and it just kept growing, and it just got better and better. So you come out there, and you've got two wonderful fireplaces there, a pizza oven, and then you built a fountain. So there's a water element, and beyond the water element, looking out at the hillsides are all the vineyards. It's really spectacular.
Well, I remember when I started that because it was just this gaping, gigantic hole. And the owners were a little bit worried they would never go out there. And so we sort of created a small terrace with the fireplaces and the pizza oven. It was a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. But then they loved it. We extended the terrace, and then they to really embrace the idea that they were adjacent to their vineyards. So then we traveled down the hill and built another terrace. And I thought to myself, as this was evolving, this is probably how Italian hill evolved. Somebody had a little house and they decided, I like the view better here, so I'm going to add some steps, wander down that, because that's what it feels like down there to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So when do you work specifically? I mean, Santa Barbara and Santa Ynez, it has a certain climate. Do you like doing other types of gardens? Do you like doing tropical gardens? Do you like doing English gardens, or is your passion really more
I,
arid?
I think that is one thing that sort of sets our office apart in my practice is that we, we love plants and different gardens and really understand that our clients are all very, very different people. Some of them have very large, large, like over thousands of acres,
Right.
and people who, live in West Hollywood, um, beautiful, tiny little garden. And it's the idea that you can still be environmentally conscious, but explore all of these different plants. So you can have that one tropical uh, leaf kind of gutsy drama feeling, and then people who adore English gardens and that tradition. And it is possible, even in England, the great dry. It's very, very English garden, while still being full of our climate.
Right. So what do you do when somebody is just wants something badly and it's just inappropriate for um, the climate or the landscape? How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm like I'm like a Jack Russell Terrier, little bone. I just keep circling back. And fortunately, for us, gardens are living, breathing creatures, and many of our clients I've worked with now for over 2 decades in several homes, and so they it's a process. And, most of the time, it's all about lawn, and so I go out with my spray can and I delineate where the lawn goes, and then they want more, and I shuffle that out back again. And so we have our moments, but I think most people, gosh, after this we've had,
Yes,
more and more aware that we simply have to um, be sensitive to the fact that we have this climate and resources, and we have to be very mindful of this.
we do. So, Puck, as you've traveled around the world, and I'm sure you have favorite places you've been and also favorite gardens. Um, Tell me a little bit about some of the memorable gardens that you visited.
Well, I think two just come to mind. One one is called the Bloedel Reserve, which is in the San Juan Islands, and it's an extraordinary garden that was developed by the Matson family people out on Bainbridge Island, and
Uh-huh.
a variety of gardens. But the one garden that's extraordinary is it's just all moss. It's
All
just
moss?
moss. Yes, it's
Really?
moss, and it's absolutely, it's like breathing these breathing three-dimensional forms of green that are just extraordinary.
Uh-huh.
And then I just have to put in a plug for Lotus Land in Santa Barbara, which is
Right.
extraordinary. Uh, Public, you have to make reservations. My partner and Kaylee Grubbin did a complete renovation of the Japanese garden. And it's a beautiful new house that is the craftsmanship aesthetic is really stunning. And
Yeah, and you know, the nice thing right now, while everybody is quarantined or being cautious about where they go, this is something that people can visit and do, and it's really an adventure. Lotus Land belonged to semi-famous opera star Ganowalska, and she left the property and the gardens to the county of Santa Barbara. And it's really a treasure. And I haven't been there for a couple of years now, but it's always wonderful. So the one of my favorite areas of there is the Lily Pond and the
yeah,
Abalone Pond in there.
the pool.
The pool, it's really spectacular.
It is.
So, are there any other gardens locally that you can recommend that people in this day of quarantine can visit?
Oh, uh, there, of course, Santa Barbara Botanic Garden is an extraordinary botanic garden
Oh,
and
yes, yes.
should be visited by anyone who wants to explore using native garden. And neck of the woods in the Santa Ynez Valley, we actually started a small botanic garden about 14 years ago, and it's been a little treasure during pandemic time. So many families come over, and we safely distance plant plants with us. It's just a real healing, therapeutic space, and I think many gardens are like. And of course, down in Santa Ana Botanic Garden is a wonderful place, and um, San Francisco is just filled with wonderful gardens.
Right. Well, these are things that people can do at this time. And also, the whole Santa Barbara area, Carpinteria, has wonderful nurseries. The nurseries here are remarkable.
Yeah,
So, on a Saturday or Sunday when I have free time, I love going to the nurseries and looking at all the plants and so forth. It is therapeutic.
it is.
So where you're at this moment in the Adirondacks, what sort of native trees and things? You had mentioned birches and so forth. What's native around you?
Well, this is actually considered rainforest, and so we have um, maples and birches and teak and um, pines and firs and spruce and balsam that
Hmm.
you put the boughs down hiking, you sleep on them. Smells cool. Um, and today I took a hike with the rain. There were all these new mushrooms popping up and fungi that are always look at. Reindeer lichen. I,
It sounds like heaven. It's a great change from the West Coast.
it is, and I really appreciate both. I think the other thing here is that it's just filled with granite boulders like the Sierras. And I think it's really important, or I've spent a lot of time studying rock formation placement to create when we do a lot of pond um, and stream kind of features. And so knowing how to place those rocks in a way that feels grounded and
And natural.
yeah, plonked all over.
Well, I, if I can quote you, I remember you saying gardens give people the capacity to spend time to find inspiration, peace, solitude, and a place to discover themselves. And I thought that was really very beautiful. And I know that resonated with me because the garden around my house is more important to me than the house. So um, I
I,
think,
I, I do
and
think that
I'm sorry.
I think that is important. we don't look at gardens as sort of pictures, to simply be photographed or Instagram, whatever, but they're really spaces that should be filled with content.
Yes, they're living spaces. And it's the thing that's wonderful about gardens is to see them develop, to see them grow. For me, it's just thrilling to see plants growing. I have something in the backyard, you can't see it from here. I haven't a clue what the hell it is, but it grows about a foot a week.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. So I'm going to have you take a look at it and tell me what's growing back here.
I'll bring my.
Okay. Anyway, Puck, I'd love to talk to you more, but I think it's time to sign off. What is the best way for people to learn a little more about you and to contact you?
Probably the best way to get a hold of me is through the office, Arcadia Studio in Santa Barbara. And all my phone calls go directly to my cell phone, so easy, since I do tend to move around a lot. And
Yes.
email's available there as well. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Puck. It's always, as always, it's wonderful seeing you and talking to you, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Okay, I'll see you in Santa Barbara.
Okay. Bye-bye.